and welcome to a live stream today. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special live stream. Um, the government of Canada has been lying to people for a long time. There's many more victims than what is shown, actually. There's many victims. And what's really sad is about, I would say 60%, if I had to estimate, which I really don't know for sure, but I'm just going to just give a guess and say I would estimate 60% of victims don't even come forward because when they do come forward, they are attacked, they are ridiculed, they are humiliated again, they are re-victimized. Um, when I went forward, after I was a victim, I went forward many times and I was attacked, I was beat up, I was called a liar, I was called crazy. And of course, we're seeing a recurring theme, right? A recurring pattern. You remember my live stream just from the other day about this guy, Colin Russell Williams? I did a whole live stream on this guy. And they also called the victims crazy in this case. So if you haven't checked out that live stream, check it out. It's from yesterday. And I recommend you check out that live stream as well, and it shows you the pattern. They called me crazy. I'm a Canadian whistleblower. They called the victims of this guy crazy. And before this, so the articles on the news websites, they have a tendency to suddenly change because of annoying pop-ups, right? So this, for example, is CBC. It's not too bad, the CBC website, but there's another news article website called the Toronto Star. And whenever you're trying to read an article on that website, pop-ups will come up. Like, would you like to subscribe to Toronto Star? So anyways, I almost thought for a second that there was gonna be an annoying pop-up, but thank God there wasn't a pop-up. So this guy, he also did uh children, but because of a publication ban, you don't know about or can see where it talks about how he did white kids. So he was an anesthesiologist for like 20 years. Believe me, he did way more than just 21 patients. This guy, this psychopath, this rapist. He did more than 21 victims. But because of publication bans, because of people too afraid to come forward, victims too afraid to come forward, because of other reasons, because of victims, sometimes victims just don't know. There's a lot of victims that were so out of it when they were under the anesthesiology. There were so many victims that were so out of it, out of the anesthesiology, that they just don't remember anything. They don't remember this guy touching them at all. So there's a lot of reasons why victims don't come forward, or why, if they do come forward, not as many come forward as there should come forward. So I just got a little distracted. Someone came in right now. I think maybe a friend of this guy who maybe the name looks. Anyway, someone came in right now and is defending the doctor. So someone came in the live stream just now. They're leaving comments. They're defending the doctor, this psychopath. See, that's what I'm saying. So doctors, the two people it's hard to criticize in Canada are criticizing Israel and criticizing doctors. Doctors, they're a big gang of rapists. They all defend each other. And whenever someone sees a doctor being defamed, not defamed, sorry, this guy's not being defamed. I'm showing you a news article. This guy was convicted. I'm showing you a news article. He was not defamed. But of course, there's a guy coming in right now. He's leaving all these comments and he's defending the doctor. So, and he actually made kind of a scary comment towards myself. So, a guy just came into the live stream. He's defending this psychopath. He's defending this doctor. I'm not sure if maybe it's a friend of the doctor. Are you a friend of this guy? Hello, welcome to the live stream. Are you a friend of this doctor? Are you defending your fellow doctor? Oh, he could never do such a thing, right? So anyways, let's go now to the second article. The hospital engaged in a cover-up. See? Dr. George, this is not Dr. George Do Not. This guy's Dr. George Do Not. This is the anesthesiologist, that molested children while they were under anesthesiology on the operating table. This is Dr. George Doudna. Now, this guy is, I guess, a doctor who was called in to testify. I guess it was like a fellow doctor who came in to like try to defend his fellow doctor buddy. And it actually, they even admit, and then for a Canadian news article, the Toronto Star, for them to admit that the hospital engaged in a cover up, that's a big deal. So basically, for many years, these victims were coming forward, and the Indian nurses defended the Indian doctor. They're like, oh, he would never do such a thing. Oh, how dare you accuse an Indian doctor? How dare you? And then the Indian nurses would defend the Indian doctor. How dare you? No, 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 he would never do that. You're a racist white person. You racist white man. You know, Indian doctor would never do such a thing. And of course, the Indian Toronto police, because half the Toronto police are Indian now, they said, oh, you're crazy. They called the victims crazy. They said, you're crazy. No, the Indian doctor would never rape you. How dare you, white woman? How dare you, white Canadian woman? How dare you accuse the Indian doctor of raping you? Okay. And of course, they also they defamed the children because the children came forward as well. There were several girls because this guy especially did it to white girls. He did it to little white girls as well. He raped white girls. This doctor, this Canadian doctor, this Canadian doctor, um, raped white girls. And then the Indian Toronto police, they're a big gang. The Indian Toronto police, the Indian nurses, the Indian doctors, they're all a big gang. They hate white people. So they said, oh, you're crazy, white people. No, that's a lie. No, no, he would never do such a thing. No, this Indian doctor would never rape you. Wow, you racist white people, racist white people. And then if we go to here, back to here, you can see the news article even admits the hospital engaged in a cover-up. And remember, I was just talking about this other cover-up, major cover-up. So you see a pattern here. A military soldier was a rapist, murderer, cross-dresser. We have an Indian doctor who was raping little girls and getting away with it, and raping white women. He did white women and white girls and got away with it for years until eventually he was convicted, but then he was released. He was convicted, and then look, he's been released. There's journalists, there's Canadian journalists who spent more time in Canadian prison just for criticizing communist China. There are Canadian journalists who spent more time in prison just for criticizing communist China. And those Canadian journalists were beat up in prison, they were tasered in prison, they were attacked, they were spit on in prison, they had to eat that horrible prison food, which does not taste good. So Canadian journalists, just for speaking out against communist China, Canadian journalists were given more time in Canadian prison without a trial, by the way. They were innocent. Innocent Canadian journalists, not given a trial. And if they were given a trial, it wasn't a fair trial. It was corrupt. Or if it was a really corrupt bail hearing, where you just think you're going in for a bail hearing, next thing you know, they just start yelling accusations at you. And your own lawyer calls you crazy and defames you. So Canada, they are corrupt. They defend these pedophile doctors. They defend these pedophile military soldiers. The Canadian government defends the pedophile doctors. The Canadian government defends the pedophile military soldiers. And the government of Canada, as you know, okay, we're going to have to, hold on, I'm going to pull up another article here. One sec. I'm going to put the phone down just for one sec. Hold on. I'm going to pull up the Justin Trudeau transgender parade. And you can see for yourself that these people are sociopaths. Transgender parade. Where is it? Where is it? There we go. So I have a question for everyone. Why do these people have to be school teachers? Why do they want to be school teachers so badly? And they're not just school teachers, they're also police officers. They're also military guys. You remember this guy's a cross-dresser. There's pages of him as a cross-dresser, This guy was a cross-dresser too. Why do these people want to be school teachers so badly? From all the professions, in fact, maybe you think they want to be a hairstylist, right? But no, why do these people want to become Canadian school teachers so badly? And why does the Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Justin Trudeau, defend these people? First off, by the way, I just got really pissed off. This is not gay. This is not gay. This is not gay. Okay? This is not, I am so pissed off right now. This is not gay. Okay? This is, whatever this is, it's not gay. Gay men do not use the little girl's room. Gay men do not like women. Gay men do not use the women's bathroom. These sicko freaks clearly are using the women's bathroom. The whole reason they dress up like this is so they can use the women's bathroom. They want to use the little girl's room. They want to use the little girl's bathroom. Gay men do not like women. Gay men do not use the girl's bathroom. Gay men do not use the girl's change room. Gay men do not like women. What is the definition of a gay man? Men who like men. Men. Military soldiers. Real military soldiers, not like this guy. This guy's a nut job. This guy's a nut job. He's not a real soldier. This guy is not a real soldier. You know what a real soldier is? A real soldier are those German soldiers. Those German soldiers in World War II that were strong and tough and masculine and strong and tough. Those German soldiers in World War II who were tall and handsome and they were noble men of honor. Those German soldiers in World War II were tall, handsome, noble men of honor. And they would never put up with this degeneracy. The German soldiers in World War II would never ever allow this type of degeneracy and these type of weirdos who like to use the little girl's bathroom. Just because you put on a wig and makeup doesn't give you the right to use the little girl's bathroom. That doesn't make you a woman. Okay, you have to know, and we don't want you either. I mean, gay men don't want freaks like this in the men's bathroom either. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but you should not be going in the women's bathroom because you're not a woman. Just because you put on makeup and a wig doesn't mean you're a woman. You cannot use the women's bathroom. It's very clear. The bathroom says women only. It's a protected space for women. Women only bathroom. But of course, Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, who's a nut job, who thinks it's okay for whatever these sickos are to use the women's bathroom, to use the little girl's bathroom. But like I said, these guys, this is not gay. Gay men would never use the woman's bathroom. Gay men do not like women. That's the definition of a homosexual. Men who like men. Men who like men. Men use the men's change room. Okay? Like the Super Bowl football locker room, right? Like a gay man would use the football Super Bowl. You know the Super Bowl with those masculine football players? They're always throwing the quarterbacks and everything. The quarterbacks, they got the footballs, the Super Bowl football players, the halftime football players. A men's change room is for men. Men use the men's change room, and especially a homosexual man who doesn't like women would never go use the women's bathroom. Never. A homosexual man, a real homosexual man, would never use the women's bathroom, would never use the women's change room, would never use the little girl's room. It literally says in the definition of a homosexual, men who like men who like to hang around men. Homosexual men do not like women. They don't dress up like women. They don't talk like women. They don't go use the women's bathroom. If you argue with this, you are arguing with the definition, the dictionary definition of a homosexual. Men who like men. A gay man, a real gay man, will never dress up like a woman, will never use the women's bathroom. Because gay men like to hang around men, real men, like the German soldiers from World War II, who were real masculine, strong men. Noble men, not like this guy who he just puts on a uniform and he tries to look the part, but he definitely is not a real soldier. This guy's a psychopath. This guy's look at this, watch. Look at that, let's pull it up. This guy, look at this degeneracy. Let's pull up the degeneracy, see for yourself the degeneracy. That this guy, and also like he raped women, he's a cross-dresser, this guy. Hold on. And by the way, He had something interesting about this guy I found out recently. He had like a Russian stepfather. This guy, this psychopath who turned out to be a cross-dresser, rapist, murderer, serial killer, he had a Russian stepfather. Very interesting. So let's find hold on, I'm gonna find it. Oh, it's right, it's near page 138, I think. Look, see? Look at the degeneracy. He would steal women's underwear, he would steal women's lingerie, and he raped and murdered women. He's a degenerate, two-faced liar, not a real soldier. No real soldier, no real soldier, not like the German soldiers in World War II. The German soldiers in World War II were strong, tall, masculine men with muscles. They could throw you against the room. They were real men. German soldiers in World War II, they were real masculine, strong men. They were noble men, and they would never allow this type of degeneracy. The German soldiers in World War II would never, ever allow this type of degeneracy and would never allow people like this to use the little girl's room. Putting on a wig and makeup doesn't give these guys the right to go use the little girl's bathroom. It does not. No, 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 no. And of course, this guy likes to hang out at Taylor Swift concerts. Remember just a few months ago? Remember a few months ago that the 13-year-old girls were like, what is this guy hanging out at the Taylor Swift concert? And of course, he uses his status. He used the status as Prime Minister of Canada to get into all the backstage places, all access places. He goes to the little girls' bathroom. He goes to Taylor Swift concerts. He hangs out with 13-year-old girls at Taylor Swift concerts. So these men are not gay. This is not gay. Gay men do not hang out with well, first off, gay men can have female friends, but gay men do not use the women's bathroom. A gay man, a real homosexual man I guarantee you, a real homosexual man will never in a million years want to use the women's bathroom. Never, ever, ever. Okay, if a gay man doesn't even want to go on a date with a woman because he's gay, he's a homosexual and he likes men, why would he want to use the women's bathroom? If a gay man doesn't even want to go on a date with a woman, why would he want to use the woman's bathroom and be with her in the woman's bathroom? Why? That's I'm telling you, gay men, real gay men. Oh, the definition, if you argue with me, you're arguing with the definition in the dictionary. Homosexual is a man who likes men. It's literally the definition of homosexual in the dictionary. Men who like men. Okay, and men who like men do not hang around in the woman's bathroom. They do not use the woman's change room. And I'm just telling you that that is the way it is. This is real gay. Gay men do not use the woman's bathroom. So these guys are not gay. So for them to say this is gay, this is not gay. This is not gay. This is grown men, straight perverts who want to use the little girl's bathroom. This is straight pedophiles. These are straight pedos who want to use the girl's bathroom, who think that just because they put on a wig and put on makeup, that means that they could use the girl's bathroom. That's what these guys are. They're straight pedos. These guys are straight pedos who think that just because they put on a wig and put on makeup, that gives them the right to use the little girl's bathroom. It does not. These are degenerates. These are degenerates, okay? And they're, so, and the German soldiers in World War II would never allow a grown man who thinks that he could just use the little girl's bathroom just because he puts on makeup and a wig. The German soldiers from World War II would never allow these rich, elite French Canadian white pedos, straight pervert pedos. And German soldiers would never let these guys around their daughters. Real German soldiers from World War II, real tough, strong, masculine German soldiers who could throw you against the room. Real strong, masculine, tough German soldiers from World War II who were real men. They were men. They were tall, men of honor. They were tall, strong, masculine. They got those really nice German accents. Real strong German soldiers from World War II, they would never allow this type of degeneracy. Never. And they especially would never let these people, freaks, use the little girl's bathroom. If these freaks tried to use the little girl's bathroom in Germany in World War II, You know what would happen to these freaks? They would not be allowed. Let's just say that these freaks would not be allowed to use the little girl's bathroom. No matter how much makeup or how many wigs they put on, these freaks, these straight pedophiles, these straight French Canadian perverts and pedos would never, ever be allowed to use the little girl's bathroom in Germany in World War II. Okay? The German soldiers from World War II, they were real men. They were strong, masculine, tall, strong men, okay, with big muscles. They were real men, the German soldiers in World War II. Not like this guy who's a two-faced, this is not a real soldier. This guy who was the military base commander for 20 years was a two-faced, lying degenerate, cross-dressing degenerate like these guys. So I gotta put the phone on a, hold on. One more time, just hold on with me. Technical difficulties. I gotta put the phone down just for a sec, because I'm gonna put on a meme. Because it's hard to hold the phone and talk at the same. I'm taking the live stream video with my phone, so I have to hold. It's hard to hold the phone and talk at the same time. So now we're gonna go to this the meme that I made. So Candace Owens, she's right. English Canadians, normal English Canadians, normal guys like me, and my whole life, all I've ever wanted was to have a normal job, have a normal life, have play football, play soccer, just be a scientist. I love science. I love mathematics. I do mathematics for fun in my head. I do chi-square. I do parabolas. I do algebra. I do trigonometry. I do multivariable calculus. I do probability statistics. I do it for fun. I do mathematics for fun. That's who I identify as. You know what I identify as? A mathematician and a scientist. An intelligent mathematician and a scientist. That's what I identify as. I do not identify as anything else. And by the way, just so we're clear, I believe that everyone has the right to be whoever they want to be, but you do not have the right to try to push your lifestyle on other people. Okay. And so if you are going around trying to tell people that they have to be transgender, you are now pushing that on other people. You are infringing on other people's rights to be what they want to be. Okay. So whatever you do behind closed doors, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, as long as if you want to be who you want to be, but you cannot infringe on other people's right to be who they want to be. Okay. So if someone wants to be who they want to be, that's one thing. But if they start to infringe on other people's rights to be who they want to be, which means that at Christmas time, we celebrate Christmas. We are Christians, Catholics, and we're not going to take down the Christmas tree just because someone doesn't celebrate Christmas. We're not going to allow transgender cross-dresser school teachers. Well, Canada allows it, but I'm telling you that I don't think Canada should allow transgender cross-dresser school teachers. No, no, no. I don't think so. No, no, they should not. I'm sorry if you disagree with me, but I do not think that transgender cross-dresser school teachers should be allowed. I do not think that men that like to dress up like women should not be going to schools dressed up like women, and there should not be cross-dresser school teachers. No, 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 no. Oh, no, no, no. No. Nope, nope, nope. Nope. So these French Canadians, these weirdos, these rich elites who think that they can, that Justin Trudeau, you saw the other picture with him posing with the transgender, the cross-dressing school teachers, and drag queens. They think that they can get away with this degeneracy, but thank God that Donald Trump, finally, Mr. Donald Trump, is exposing these degenerates in Canada. And I am once again making the case that Donald Trump does need to follow through on his promise and make Canada the 51st state. Because Canadians, hardworking, noble, conservative Canadians like myself, we have been suffering at the hands of these crazy liberal Canadians for years. These rich elites, these French Canadian rich elites that speak French and live in $1 million homes and go on trips to Hawaii, and then they laugh at poor Americans that live in trailer parks. These rich French Canadian elites who think it's okay to have cross-dresser school teachers in Canadian schools. The entire Canadian government, especially French Canadian Justin Trudeau, who you saw in the other picture, was posing at cross-dresser parades, posing with cross-dresser drag queen school teachers, Canadian school teachers. Justin Trudeau should be arrested. The entire Canadian government should be arrested. And that's especially why the United States of America needs to follow through on their promise and make Canada the 51st state. Donald Trump needs to do whatever he needs to do. If he has to call the American military, then he needs to do it. Because I'll tell you another person who stands up for children and protects children, that's Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin gives speeches constantly about how protecting the traditional family, protecting children, protecting schools from creeps, So Vladimir Putin, Russia would never allow this degeneracy. Russia would never allow these creeps. Russia would never allow transgender cross-dresser school teachers in Russian schools. Russia would never allow that. Russians are not crazy. They would never allow that. And another country that would never allow that is China. China would never allow that. China fights for transgender rights in America. China says, Americans have to become transgender because China wants the white male to disappear. China wants all the white males, the masculine, strong white males. China wants the masculine, strong white males to become feminized. China, it's in their military strategy, it's in the Chinese military strategy that white American males become feminized. So China loves it, but China would never allow it in their country. China says, you Americans, you have to accept the transgender cross-dresser white male. You have to accept it. China says, if you don't accept it, you're transphobic. To the Chinese military, then they're laughing. And then the next thing you know, all of the American military guys, they're all transgender. And the Chinese military is laughing. The Chinese military, they're all masculine, they're all men, they're laughing at the Americans. China, it's their whole military strategy to get rid of the white male because the white male is the protector. Just the male in general. Doesn't have to be white. Any male. Any male. But see, they're racist. They're the ones who are racist because they're targeting white males. They're constantly targeting people based on the color of their skin, which is white. They are anti-white. It's anti-white racism. Did you not see? I saw 3 episodes of Megyn Kelly. 3 episodes on YouTube, the YouTube channel, the famous Megyn Kelly, who has a 1 million person stream. Megyn Kelly, who is a famous conservative, and she has done 3 special news broadcasts on the disappearing of the white male and anti-white racism. Megyn Kelly did 3, not 1, but 3 specials, 3 YouTube specials where she talked about anti-white racism and how they are targeting white males. I literally was attacked just for being white. I was walking down the street and I was attacked by, I won't say the race of the people who attacked me, but they attacked me for being white. And they called me a cracker. I am a victim. I am the victim of a hate crime. They attacked me for being white. So I am the victim of a hate crime. They attacked me for being white. They did anti-racism, anti-white racism to me. So if you haven't seen it, you should go watch the 3 specials that Megyn Kelly did. The famous YouTuber, Megyn Kelly, she's a famous conservative YouTuber. She's got a platform of millions of viewers. Go watch her 3 specials that Megyn Kelly did, all about how they're doing anti-white racism, and she blames China too. Megyn Kelly, she flat out blames China. Thank God someone finally has the balls to call out China for all of the stuff they've been doing. Thank you, Megyn Kelly. Thank you, Megyn Kelly, for finally calling out China for all of the discriminatory practices that China does against America. Which, by the way, there is another report as well, and you should check it out. It's Laura Ingraham from Fox News. And Laura Ingraham from Fox News talks about how China has been buying land in the United States. But wait a minute, if Americans try to do that, if Americans tried to go to China and buy land in China, China would say no, right? But then why is it okay for the government of China to go and buy American land? Especially an enemy of the United States. Is that okay that America is just going to let their enemies buy American land? So Laura Ingram from Fox News, you have to check her out. Megyn Kelly, check her out. Also, I'm a big fan of Tucker Carlson. I'm a big fan of Tucker Carlson. You need to check him out because these people, they are finally speaking the truth. We have been victims for years from this degeneracy, which is being pushed by China and other countries that want to see the United States fail and suffer. China has been behind all of these campaigns to push degeneracy on Americans and Canadians. China has been behind all of these anti-American campaigns, the degeneracy campaigns. But would China ever allow that in their country? No, no, no. China would never allow transgender cross-dresser school teachers. China would never allow that. So explain to me why China expects Americans to allow it in their schools, cross-dresser school teachers, but China would never allow it in their country. And by the way, you think China would ever have a black president? China would never have a black president. All the racist people, they're all the racist ones. They're the ones who are racist. You think China would have China would never have a black president. Just go ask them. Go ask them tomorrow. Why aren't there more reporters? There was a reporter several months ago. I don't know what happened to him. Did he disappear? And he asked the Chinese president if they would ever have a black president. And the Chinese president laughed at the question. And then who knows what happened to the journalist after that? After the journal, I think, was he American? I don't think he was American. I think he actually was I think he was Swedish. I think it was a Swedish journalist, and he asked the Chinese president if China would ever have a black president. And the Chinese president laughed. So China would never have a black president. They laugh at the question. They think the question is so stupid. They don't even answer the question because they would never allow it. That's why. It was very clear. It was a very clear answer. Because if China wasn't racist, China would have been like, yeah, why not, right? It's possible if a black person in China runs for president of China, why not, right? If China wasn't racist, they would have easily turned around and said, yeah, China could have a black president if a black Chinese person ran for president. But no, they didn't. Instead, they turned around, the Chinese president, and laughed at the Swedish reporter. Or I think he was Swedish. Anyways, he was a reporter. He laughed at the journalist, the Chinese president. So China is actually the most racist country in the world. And China would never allow degeneracy like they push on Americans and they push on Canadians. Okay? And Germany, World War II Germany, would never allow this degeneracy either. So explain to me why all these other countries with sane leaders like China and Russia and Germany and even other countries, why they would never allow this, but then they expect America and Canada to allow all of the degeneracy. Is that fair? Does that make sense? That's not fair. So no, we should not be able to allow it either. If China doesn't have to allow it, if Russia doesn't have to allow it, if World War II Germany doesn't have to allow it, if these other countries don't have to allow it, then neither should America or Canada have to allow this degeneracy. It's only fair. Why can China and Russia do things that Canada and America is not allowed to do? Russia and China is allowed to do it, but America and Canada is not allowed to do it. Does that seem fair to you? So let's go to the comments because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people defending the, So let's go. Svengali came in, and I don't know if that's a Swedish name. Is that Swedish, Svengali? Svengali came in and he said, finally, you can complain about being oppressed. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Thank you for your comment. I'm not sure what you meant there, but thank you for the comment. Another person came in and said, and they called me a cracker. They called you a cracker too? Oh, wow. So sober. I think your name is is that how you say your name? I'm sorry. I'm not sure how you say your name. It's SOB3R. So I apologize if I'm not saying your name right. I'm not sure how to say your name. But sober came in and they said they called me a cracker. They also called me a cracker apparently. So I sorry to hear that. They called me a cracker too. So Lisa Thompson came in. And Lisa Thompson, I don't know what she's doing, but Lisa Thompson doesn't like me, so she made an offensive comment towards myself. So I'm not going to read her comment. Thank you for your freedom of speech. I wish you would respect my freedom of speech, but thank you for your freedom of speech, even though, you don't respect my freedom of speech. So Lisa Thompson came in. Let's see. I can't read her comment. Normally I read comments, but her comment was offensive, so I can't read it. Her comment was offensive because she said something about trying to take away my free speech. I'm like, listen, I am the first one to defend freedom of speech. And I don't really care. Like, she could come in and call me. There's people who came in, they called me the F word, they call me names, they call me stupid. I don't care. I even read their comments. I said, oh, thank you for your opinion. You think I'm stupid? Good to know. You think that's great. I literally don't care. If someone calls me stupid, they call me ugly, I don't care. I'll even say, oh, thank you for your opinion. Thank you for your comment. That's literally what I say. But if someone comes in here and tries to take away my freedom of speech, no, I don't think so. If you don't respect you need to respect my freedom of speech. So, very simple. I'm not going to read her comment. That's very simple. So, I mean, listen, if you have an enemy, you would rather, if you have a person who you perceive as your enemy, you would rather have them speak their mind because then you know where you stand with them. This is some good advice right here. You do not want to silence your enemy. If you silence your enemy and try to take away their free speech, you know what they say about silent people, right? Silent people, the quiet ones. So you do not want to do that. What you want to do is you want to listen to what they have to say. And you say, listen, I disagree with you. I am going to agree to disagree. Thank you for your opinion. I have to disagree with you, but thank you for your opinion. You have the right to have your opinion, and thank you, and I disagree with you. And that is the way to deal with an enemy, is to say, listen, we have a different point of view. You believe one thing, I believe something else. Thank you for your opinion. Thank you for the discussion. I disagree with you, but thank you for your opinion. But if you turn around and try to be a Nazi or try to be a dictator or try to be whatever you are and try to take away that person's freedom of speech, then suddenly you are like that. And that, so basically, I'm for freedom of speech. Freedom of speech to me is extremely important. And if you live in a society where they take away freedom of speech, if people are not able to express themselves verbally, they might start expressing themselves in other ways, right? If people are not allowed to express how they really feel verbally, communication is key. And if you watch a lot of these self-help TV shows like Dr. Phil, I don't even watch Dr. Phil, but even Dr. Phil is right when he talks about communication and why it's so important to have an open and honest dialogue and have communication. So people who want to take away communication, like I said, if people aren't allowed to express themselves verbally, they might start expressing themselves in other ways. So you do not want to take away people's freedom of speech. So let's go to another comment. So someone came in and they said, free Palestine. I am really sorry about what's going on in the rest of the world with the wars and everything. This is really sad. It's really sad that there's all of these evil dictators, and which, by the way, a lot of these evil dictators are liberals. These liberals, they're not tolerant people. They're not tolerant. They don't want freedom of speech. They're trying to take our freedom of speech away, these liberal dictators. So a lot of these dictators, they're not actually conservatives, these dictators. They're liberals. trying to take our freedom of speech away. So I feel really bad for this everyone around the world, and I really hope we can have world peace. And I feel really bad for what's happening in Palestine. Now, I'm not an expert on Palestine, and I really don't know too much. I'm more of an expert on Russia and Ukraine. I speak fluent Russian. I studied the Russian language for years. I speak fluent Russian. I studied the Russian language for years. So I am an expert on Russia and Ukraine, more or less. I don't feel comfortable giving opinions on things I don't know much about. So unfortunately, I don't know much about what's happening in Palestine because, of course, just to become a Russia expert takes a long time. Like it takes a really long time to study the Russian language to become a Russia expert. I don't even think that I am at the level yet to be even be considered a Russia expert, but I'm getting close. But it took years to even just to learn to speak Russian, etc. I watch Putin every day. I watch his speeches. So I feel really bad for what's going on in Palestine. And all I can say is I just feel really sorry for what's happening over there. But I can't really give an opinion on it because I don't really know the conflict too well. I don't know what the two sides are arguing about too well. And so for that reason, I'm not going to give a opinion on that. I only feel comfortable giving opinions on things I know. I do feel comfortable giving opinions on Ukraine and Russia because I have studied the Russian language for years. I speak fluent Russian. I know the Russian culture well. I've also studied Ukrainian culture. I can speak a bit of Ukrainian as well. So that I do feel comfortable giving an opinion on. So I just want to say to the person who came in and said free Palestine, yeah, I thank you for your comment. I feel bad for what's going on over there in that part of the world, but I don't know much about the conflict and I don't feel comfortable giving an opinion on something I don't know much about. So let's just say thank you for your comment. Thank you. So let's go to another comment now. No, I'm not. Hold on. So someone came in and the person's name is Tansy. Tansy, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. So I apologize if I'm not saying your name right. Tansy came in and said, you'll regurgitate other people's BS, but when it comes to say Israel bad, suddenly he's all calculated and reserved. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. I've called out Israel before many times. That's to see you're assuming things. No, you're assuming things. Um, I like no, that's not true. I'm talking about war stuff. Like right now, I literally talk to Ukrainian soldiers about the war. I talk to Russian soldiers about the war. So when I was talking about being an expert and that I don't feel comfortable giving my opinion on war strategy unless I'm more or less an expert or trying to become an expert, I'm close to becoming an expert on Russia and Ukraine. Like it takes a long time to become fluent in Russian. It takes a long time to become a Russia expert. So I'm really trying there. And I do have a bit of expertise there. But I'm not an expert on the war in Palestine and Israel in that section. Do I believe that Israel are the aggressors in the situation? Yes. And I've called out Israel before. But with regards to war strategy and talking to the soldiers over there, like I said, I'm not an expert, so I cannot talk about that, is what I was getting at. So once again, I don't like when people assume things. A lot of people assume things. It's hard. It's hard this day and age. People jump to conclusions, but try not to, please jump to conclusions. Okay. So in fact, if you could tell by the way I was talking, I was sympathetic to the person who was saying free Palestine, right? I'm pretty sure Palestine is not the Jewish side, right? Is Palestine the Israel? And so, anyways, I don't know. I've been studying Russia and Ukraine for years, okay? Ever since the war started with Crimea, like from 14 years ago, from 15 years ago, I've been studying Russia and Ukraine for years. Russia is the biggest country in the world. Russia is huge, okay? Like if someone thinks that they know Russia just because they know Moscow and St. Petersburg and Novosibirsk and Vladivostok, no, you don't. And Siberia, just because you know Siberia, just because you know Moscow, just because you know St. Petersburg, just because you know Novosibirsk, just because you know Ryazan, just because you know Vladivostok, doesn't mean that you know Russia. That's only 6 cities. That's only 6 regions in Russia. Russia is huge. Russia is the biggest country in the world. That's why it takes forever just to become a Russia expert. It takes a long time because it's not just the language that's hard. Like just learning the Russian language alone is like climbing Mount Everest. But then you have to study Russian culture, you have to study the regions of Russia, you have to study the cities of Russia, you have to study the landscape, you have to study the Russian politics. It takes a long time. It's very daunting to try to become a Russia expert. And it's the biggest country in the world. So, like I said, I don't feel comfortable when people come in and they try to ask me, like, it's one thing if you just want to say free Palestine. That's great. And that's what the guy said. He came in, he said free Palestine. But I also followed up with just the fact that I'm not going to give my political opinion on the war and about war strategy and stuff like that too much because I don't really know too much. I will say that in my opinion, and this is all I could say was that Israel, in my opinion, were the aggressors. That's as far as I could say. But could I talk to actual Israeli soldiers? Could I actually talk to Palestinian soldiers? No, I cannot because I simply do not know enough. And there's no harm in saying and admitting that you don't know something. It's better to say you don't know. If you don't know something, just say you don't know. It's better to just say you don't know and move on. Okay? So that's why. But lately, I get there's a lot of people coming in my live stream saying free Palestine, free Palestine. And I am appreciative of that because it boosts the live stream when they start saying that. And also because I also am truly empathetic towards these people. So they are helping me. They are helping me with my cause, with what I believe. I'm about the environment, about Mother Earth. I'm about protecting Mother Earth. I love science. I love mathematics. These people are helping my stream. And in return, I want to help them. So every time they come in and they say free Palestine, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your comment. Your comment is helping my stream. Thank you for your comment. But like I said, I don't know too much about the conflict. I am not the right person to give advice. And so all I can say is I just feel really bad about what's happening over there. I feel empathetic to what's happening over there. That's all I can say. Okay. So that's it. That's as far. So I don't, this person who just came in recently and said, oh, about you're not going to call out Israel. I have many times. Okay, Israel has been the aggressor, not just with Palestine, but with other wars and with other events. There was a major event in Canada a few years ago involving Israelis. There were Israeli lawyers in Canada just a few years ago, and they were hanging around Justin Trudeau. And there was an incident that happened between Justin Trudeau. Well, no, the Israeli lawyers were defending Justin Trudeau. Let's just put it clear. The incident wasn't between Justin Trudeau and the Israeli lawyers. The Israeli lawyers were defending Justin Trudeau. So, anyways, long story short, I can't talk too much about that, but it happened a few years ago. So, wherever Israel goes, they tend to find trouble. The Israeli lawyers, the Israeli teachers, the Israeli community, they're always finding trouble. They're always getting into fights. Okay, so they're kind of like the troublemakers of the world. So I have no problem calling out those people. I have no problem calling out the troublemakers. I'm going to call out the troublemakers every day. But I'm not an expert on Israel. I definitely not. I don't know I only know Tel Aviv. I only know one city. I only know Tel Aviv. That's it. All I know about Israel is Tel Aviv. And like if I went to Israel tomorrow, I would only know how to get around Tel Aviv. I don't even speak Hebrew or whatever they speak in Israel. Okay? So I don't speak Hebrew. I don't speak whatever language they speak in Israel. All I know is one city. All I know is Tel Aviv. That's it. Okay. So no, I'm not going to go to Israel. And just so you know, Candace Owens, if you watched her live stream yesterday, Candace Owens was talking about the fact that they kept inviting Megyn Kelly to Israel. Okay. So Megyn Kelly, she's like, no, I don't want to go to Israel. So Candace Owens on her YouTube channel show, she did a whole episode. She talked about many different things, but especially she also talked about within the episode, she talked about Megyn Kelly and her show and the Megyn Kelly show and how Megyn Kelly was talking to a woman. Was it Marjorie Taylor Greene? I think a politician, and apparently Megyn Kelly was telling a story about how they kept inviting her to go to Israel. So who would want to go to Israel, especially when there's that war going on, right? So I would never go to Israel. I'm not going to go put myself in the middle of a battlefield. I have considered actually going to Russia and Ukraine, although I'm not quite sure if I would go to Russia or Ukraine. Um, but anyways, I have considered going there for a job, for a potential job that I was not offered, but I applied for, and there was an opportunity maybe for me to go to Russia and Ukraine, but I didn't. So no, I don't know why everyone wants to go to Israel right now. Why is that? Why was Megyn Kelly saying that there were these people trying to pressure Megyn Kelly to go to Israel? Is it to do with what happened with the incident with Justin Trudeau a few years ago and the Israeli lawyers? Like, see, that's what I'm saying. So that's a whole deep dive that I'm not an expert on. Candace Owens, clearly she's an expert on the Israeli stuff. Well, she also said she also supported Israel for years, Candace Owens. So she must be now she's saying she regretted it, right? But so Candace Owens, she's the expert on Israel. She's the whole Israeli expert. I'm not, and I don't feel comfortable giving political opinions too much. Other than all that I can, all the other than to say that I do think that Israel is the aggressors. But am I going to give my opinion on the war? Am I going to give opinion on the war strategy or politics? No, I don't know enough about. I don't. All I know about Israel is that the main city is Tel Aviv. That's all I know. Okay. I'm not going to go to Israel. I'm not going to, and like I don't even know why they're asking Megyn Kelly to go to Israel. That's kind of scary. Like, what are they trying to do to Megyn Kelly in Israel? So, in case you guys haven't seen it, there is a TV series. It was from several years ago, and it's called McMafia. It's about the Russian mafia, but they have a whole storyline where these people, these women get abducted. It was a Russian woman who got abducted. I'm pretty sure she was Russian. She got abducted. It was about the Russian mafia. So it was a movie about, or not a movie, it was a TV series. It was a TV series starring this really handsome, tall guy. He's British, kind of looks like a British soldier. Like, anyways, he's really tall and handsome. British soldier. No, he wasn't a British soldier. He looks like a British soldier. He was tall, like very tall, like a tall British guy, right? With a delightful British accent. He's a tall British guy with a delightful British accent. Very good looking, very handsome, very tall, very muscular, and he's the star of the series called McMafia. And so, even though he's British, technically he's also Russian. He's like, well, in real life, the actor I think is British, right? I'm not sure but in the character on the McMafia TV series, it's a Russian character, right? A Russian British hybrid, right? So in the McMafia TV series, which only lasted, I think, one season, it was really good though. I'm disappointed they didn't go longer than one season or two seasons. Was it two seasons? Anyways, there was a whole abduction among women, and the women there was a big sometimes they were going to, I think, Israel. See, in the Mafia TV series, they kept the women were like, you know what they do when they do human trafficking, right? When they do human trafficking, they like go to one area, then they get moved to another area, then they go move to another area, right? So in one area they were showing Israel and Tel Aviv, and then another area they were showing Egypt. So I'm pretty sure the women actually got abducted in Egypt, I think it was. I think the women actually got abducted in Egypt, but then they were showing some connection to Israel. So in the McMafia TV series, they were showing a connection somehow to Israel and Tel Aviv. I don't remember the TV series. I did watch it a few years ago. It was a good TV series. But yeah, so there was some sort of connection with human trafficking in Egypt and there were the pyramids. They actually showed the pyramids in the background. They were on the strip, like the Egypt strip. Is that Gaza? Anyway, so watch McMafia. Just watch the TV series. I don't want to give away the show either. So just watch the TV series yourself. And they were showing a connection between the abductions, the human trafficking of women in Egypt to all the way to Tel Aviv in Israel. So watch the McMafia TV series. It's a good TV series. Let's go to other comments. Oh, and then the other thing too was, oh, Candace Owens, she would love this because this is she's going all about this topic. Another thing too in the weird McMafia TV series was how they were doing like money laundering. So again, I'm not an expert on money laundering, but apparently there was this big Israeli money laundering scheme or something. So there was like, I guess, an oligarch, like a Russian oligarch, and they were getting in a fight over money. See, money is the root of all evil, right? And is Israel, they love money, right? Is Israel, they love money, and money is the root of all evil. So in the show, there was a storyline in the McMafia TV series where there was some sort of money laundering scheme going on, and then the Russian oligarch who was like a banker, he was like a really rich banker. So, when you normally think about mafia people, you think of like tough guys like mafia, but these mafia guys were more like bankers. They were like they were rich elite kind of mafia people. You know what I mean? So they were different. They weren't like when you think of mafia, you think of, tough guys, right? No, these guys, there was violence. Don't get me wrong. In the show, in the TV series, in the television TV series McMafia, there was like a lot of, but what I'm saying is that they were more sophisticated thugs. Like they were sophisticated. They were like bankers. They were doing money laundering. This was on a global, like a high scale kind of operation, right? So that's what I was trying to get at. So there was a whole money laundering scheme, and once again, the money laundering storyline in McMafia. So the TV show is called McMafia, McMafia, McMafia. They were once again connecting the money laundering scheme to Israel somehow. Somehow in the storyline, I can't remember exactly correctly, but so I apologize if I don't remember. I watched the series a few years ago, so I can't remember exactly. But I just say just watch the TV series. Watch McMafia. It's really good. And it has a lot of connections to Israel and Tel Aviv. They talk about money laundering, human trafficking, and I really think Candace Owens, she should. If anyone, I'm a fan of Candace Owens. If anyone else is a fan of Candace Owens, you should go and you should tell her on her next YouTube live stream that she should watch McMafia. She should watch the McMafia TV series because she will like that show. Because especially if she's going on, off on Israel right now. That whole show it shows connections to Israel. I watched the show because of the Russian part of the show, right? I'm trying to become a Russia expert. So they do speak a bit of Russian in the McMafia TV series. So the Russian mafia, the Russian oligarchs, that's the main reason I watched the show was to get the Russian language skills to watch the Russian actors speak Russian, etc. That's why I watched McMafia. But McMafia also had a big connection, some sort of storyline connection to Israel and Tel Aviv. And there was money laundering, there was human trafficking, there was a lot of stuff going on in the McMafia TV series. And who knows, why was it canceled? It was a good TV series. And the main actor was really good looking, like really tall and handsome, like really like a tall, handsome British guy, right? Kind of like James Bond, James Bond 007. I even was saying that actor from that McMafia TV series, he could play the next James Bond 007. Like he was tall and strong, masculine, had a nice British accent. I don't know why the TV series got canceled. Did Israel get the TV series canceled? Keep in mind, this TV series was from years ago, and 10 years ago, you couldn't even talk about Israel 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, you try to talk about Israel, they shut down your YouTube channel, they shut down you can't use your credit cards no more. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but no, seriously, like 10 years ago, you couldn't even talk about Israel. Now, I'm not sure if this show was 10 years ago. It definitely was a few years ago. It was probably about maybe, I think, 6 years ago. So I think it was from 2018. So it was about 7, 8 years ago. So it was about, I just estimate, say 10, about 10 years ago, right? So maybe that's what happened. Maybe Israel had this show purposely canceled because it was like pointing the finger at Tel Aviv and Israel in a way, right? When they were connecting the money laundering and when they were connecting the human trafficking to Tel Aviv and Israel. So maybe Israel got this show canceled. Okay, it was called McMafia. I can't remember the name of the main actor, but he's really tall and British and very good looking, very handsome. And again, he's a real man. You know, he's an actor. He's a real man. He was an actor who played. Anyways, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So, I mean, I prefer soldiers. I mean, I think that if I'd had a past life, if I believe in past lives, I'm not sure if I believe in past lives, but I think in my past life that I may have been a soldier, like a German soldier. I don't know why, but I have lots of dreams about German soldiers for some reason. So I don't know. Maybe there is such a thing as past lives, and I have a lot of dreams about German soldiers. So I don't know, but it's not just German soldiers, like actually Germany. I have dreams a lot about German libraries. I think I was maybe an historian or something, or maybe I was a scientist in Germany. I think maybe if I do believe in past lives, I may have been a scientist in Germany, a German scientist, because I have a lot of strange dreams about Germany and German soldiers and German libraries, and even like one time I was in a German library and I was reading these books that were in German. And what kind of dream is that? That is the most bizarre dream. And then I go to ask my dad, and I'm like, hey, why would I be having dreams about being in a German library, reading books in German? And my father's like, oh, it's because you just like something you watched on TV. I'm like, I didn't watch anything recently. I haven't watched like a World War II Germany movie in years. I haven't, and especially when I was, the career I had at that moment. Like I had not watched anything recently. So how do you explain like years later, suddenly I'm having these recurring dreams about being in German libraries, reading German science textbooks, talking with German soldiers? Like it didn't make any sense. And I kept having these recurring dreams. So that actually made me believe that maybe if past lives, if there is this thing as past lives, that maybe for real in my past life, I was either a German scientist or a German soldier, or I definitely something to do in Germany. Anyways. I like noble men. I like men who have morals and ethics and who are against all of this degeneracy. I like strong, masculine, tall men who are real noble men who are against this degeneracy, who are not thieves. I'm against the thugs. All of these thugs that don't know how to wear pants. You see, all those thugs that don't, they're thieves, they're thugs, the thugs are thieves, they don't know how to wear pants. I'm against the degeneracy, I'm against the thugs, I'm against all those weirdos, okay? Like, why can't we just have normal, strong, hardworking, masculine men? Tall. And I like them, tall men. Obviously, you can't really control how tall they are, but I like tall men. I like masculine, strong, right? And if he's a short man, he better be like masculine and strong and intelligent. Okay, because I know he can't control how tall he is, right? But I mean, well, first off, if he, anyways, I like tall guys. I like tall guys, and everyone has kind of like a type, right? I have a type. I like masculine men. I like strong men, masculine, tall, strong, muscles, like just normal guys. Okay, you don't have to be like 7 feet tall, but you just no, I don't. Anyways, so you know what I mean. So basically, what I'm saying is that I just don't. I'm against all of this degeneracy. I'm against all of this stuff that they especially would never allow in Russia or China. Russia or China would not allow this degeneracy. So why are Americans and Canadians expected to allow this degeneracy? It's not. It does not make. It's not fair. So. But when I was growing up, I watched the James Bond movies, and I thought James Bond, well, the Daniel Craig, I watched Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig, and I thought the James Bond movies, like that's a man, he's a hero, he wears suits and ties. He also happened to be British, but he's a hero, he wears suits and ties, right? Masculine. Although I'm not sure how tall Daniel Craig is. I mean, I'm sure in the movies they make him look taller. But when you're growing up and you're watching these movies, obviously everyone's taller than you when you're growing up, right? So when you're growing up, when I was growing up, right, Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible movies. Tom Cruise, I just found out recently, he's short. I didn't know Tom Cruise was a short guy. But when I was growing up, obviously everyone looked big, everyone looked tall when you're growing up. But I just found out recently that Tom Cruise is actually very short. He's a short man, Tom Cruise. But yeah, I used to watch when I was growing up. I watched the Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise. I also watched Eyes Wide Shut. And if you watch Eyes Wide Shut with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, Eyes Wide Shut, there's a scene in right with what happens to Tom Cruise in Eyes Wide Shut movie, right? So I watched all those movies. I watched Minority Report, especially Minority Report. Minority Report, which had to do with psychics. And I actually have a strange, I wonder, see, Candace Owens, right? She should do a whole, if she is so like she's not anti-science. I don't think Candace Owens is anti-science. I think she just is very open-minded to different things. So she'll do a whole series on psychics. Because apparently, right, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, actually used psychics to solve things, and the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and probably even CSIS, which is the Canadian version, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and all of them. They probably all use psychics, even the Russian one, even the FSB, the Federalная служба безопасности, the Federal Security Service of Russia, even they probably use psychics. So, very interesting. Candace Owens should, and I know that there's been other people who did series like this about psychics and the CIA, but I would especially like to see Candace Owens, who's a really good investigative reporter. That's what she should do if she's trying to come up with ideas to what to do with after the Finding the Bridget series. Because Candace Owens right now she's doing the whole Finding Bridget series. If Candace Owens is trying to get ideas to what to do next, she should totally do a whole series on psychics and the CIA and how the CIA used psychics and the FBI used psychics. So listen, I don't think that every psychic is legit. I don't think that everyone is psychic. I think there's a lot of scammers out there. But I do also think that it's very possible that there are real psychics. And especially when you start hearing stories about the CIA and the FBI using psychics to solve crimes, it makes you think maybe there is something there. Maybe there are legitimate psychics out there, right? I don't know for sure. Like, I can't say for sure if they're real or not. I just know that it's something interesting that definitely should be investigated. And Candace Owens, she has the resources to investigate something like that. Like, she's doing a good job investigating the French people, like the creepy French. Anyways, Candace Owens is doing a good job investigating France. So Candace Owens, if she's looking for ideas for another series to do after she's done the French series, she should definitely look into the psychics and the CIA, the use of psychics by the CIA and the FBI. That would make a really interesting series. So. And I would like also to say too, by the way, that, and this was bothering me. See, sometimes when something's bothering you, maybe it means you have to say it. Maybe it means you have to be vocal about something that's bothering you. So, um, I am worried right now that people are spreading lies about me because what I noticed is sometimes people will come in and say they'll jump to conclusions about me when they don't even know me. And so what the media does is, and what everyone does now, what a lot of people will do is they'll take like 20 seconds of a clip. They'll take like 20 seconds of a video clip. So let's be very clear here. Um, if there's a video clip of me calling a woman fat, okay, if there is a video clip out there of me talking to a fat woman and calling her a fatty, listen, I am not a bully. I am constantly being bullied. So if I called a woman fat, it's only because she called me something even worse and she bullied me first. I have been in public places where I have been harassed. And there were occasions, and a lot of them seem to be heavy. A lot of heavy women, and a lot of them are homophobic. A lot of heavy homophobic women have harassed me in public. They have harassed me, and I had done nothing wrong. I was perfectly polite. In Canada, like they ingrain you to be polite. And when I was in the United States, Americans are not taught to be polite, especially to strangers, which is totally against Canadian culture. In Canadian culture, everyone is expected to be polite. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is polite in Canada. That's definitely not the case. There's a lot of mean Canadians, and they're not polite. And I have a suspicion those mean Canadians are actually American spies. Anyways, but um, typically, normally in Canadian culture, we are expected to be polite. Okay. And I am a polite to everyone, especially strangers. I am especially polite to strangers. And if you've seen those Terrifier movies, which are really scary, like that movie is actually a very it's teaching people you should be polite, especially to strangers. Especially if you see like some weirdo clown in your cafe. Like you should be polite to everyone. Okay? Like I was just watching because I don't like horror movies actually. I really don't. I really do not like horror movies, but people are suddenly going crazy over this Terrifier horror movie. Suddenly, I'm seeing these YouTube videos all over YouTube, and so I just got curious and I checked it out a bit. Right, I started to watch a bit of it, and I noticed that the women who are being killed in the Terrifier movies, these women are like biatches. You know what I mean? Like they're like mean women that are getting killed in the Terrifier movies. So, especially like the girl in the Terrifier movie, she like goes up to this stranger who's like in a clown suit and thinks it's okay to sit on him and then flick the hat back in his face, take a picture of him without his consent, touch him without his consent. Like this woman was asking, anyways, anyways, this woman was, this woman was very social. She was a very social woman, but she was also kind of being kind of impolite and she was being rude to this guy, especially a guy in a clown suit who was, So I started to notice that the main character of the movie, I think the reason that she's kind of survives, or I hadn't even watched the full movie. Like, I turned the movie off after 3 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, this movie is gross. Like, I can't handle watching the movie. So I can't handle, like, it's really hard for me to watch blood because I used to, I tried to watch those medical shows with the doctors, like the doctor shows, and I get queasy with seeing blood. So, um, I turned off the Terrifier movie after 3 minutes. But I did notice, after a few minutes, I turned off the Terrifier movie. But I did notice that the main character, she seemed to be surviving more because she was more polite. She was not like a biatch, but she was hanging around a friend who was a total biatch. And I think that that was the lesson there is like, be careful who you associate yourself with. Like, like she definitely herself was trying to be a good person, but she was hanging. Her friend was a total biatch, and it's not enough to just call out her friend. Like you shouldn't be friends with someone who's a total biatch. So I think the Terrifier in the movie was kind of teach her a lesson, kind of being like, you are polite, but your friend's not so polite, and you're hanging around her, and you're kind of condoning her behavior. And so I think the Terrifier was trying to teach her a lesson, and that's why he spared her. Because there were many moments in the movie where the Terrifier could have taken out the main character, but he didn't. Because you could see that she definitely was more polite. She wasn't like she was telling her friend, like, don't do that. Like, don't go sit on him. Don't like, don't, especially him, like, from all the good people to. But you shouldn't do that to anyone. You shouldn't treat people like that. And so basically, yeah, I'm very polite, and Canadians were taught to be polite, especially. And so I think that Candace Owens, I think she really should do a whole series on psychics, and she should do a series on psychics because I do think that there are real psychics out there. And so I'm not going to like, even if there was a psychic who I thought was a scam artist or anything, I'm not gonna go and just start calling her a scammer and saying, "Oh, you're a scam artist." If I think and I suspect that she's a scam artist, I'm not gonna go start calling her a scam artist because like you never know, right? What if she was really a psychic for real? What if you know I'm not going to give her money because I don't have to. I'm not going to. I have no obligation to support her financially, but at the same time, if I think she's a scammer, I'm not going to go to try to harp on her business, right? That doesn't mean that I have to be scammed. But what I'm saying is that in Canada, there's a general code of politeness, right? So, like I said, if there is a video, this whole started with me being concerned that there's a video of me maybe calling a woman fat. If there's a video of me calling her fat, they're only showing 20 seconds of the video. They're not showing the full video. They're not showing that she started it first with me. She was being nasty to me. She was harassing me first. Okay? And that's the way it's always been. The way you hear me talking now, this is the way I am all the time. I do not bully people. I am constantly being bullied. And then when I defend myself, they try to take 20 seconds of a video and make me look like the bully. Okay. So if there is a video of me calling a woman fat, or if there's a video of me calling someone, a name, it would, if they showed the whole video would be like, no, I'm not fat, you're fat. Don't call me fat, you're fat. And that's usually probably what have been seen in the video. Okay. Because or like don't call me fat, you're fat. You know what I mean? I have been the one this whole time who's been an innocent person who's been harassed and been bullied. Okay. So if someone comes in and starts calling me a name, I'm not gonna I'm gonna defend myself and call them a name back. But I never start it. I never start shit with people. Okay. I have no problem disagreeing with someone, but I can disagree with someone politely. And if I disagree with someone, I'll just say very politely, I disagree with you. I'm not gonna call them a name, but I disagree with you. But then there's people who disagree with you, and not only do they disagree with you, but then they start name calling you. So if someone calls me names, I will call them names back. That's only fair. So if there is a video out there circulating of me calling a woman fat, it's only because she called me a name first or did something to me first. Okay? So I'm not gonna, there were actually several incidents, and I happened to notice the same thing. It's a lot of the incidents where it's fat women that were bullying me. I was bullied a lot by fat women, which was surprising because they always try to teach us in Canadian schools that beauty is on the inside and beauty is on the inside, and that heavy women got good personalities. Really? Because they were bullying me a lot. And they called me the F word, the other F word, because I'm a homosexual. The heavy woman called me the other F word. They attacked me. One time they threw a drink at me. This lady threw a drink at me, and she assaulted me with a drink. And when I called the police, they're like, big sorry, poor guy, a woman threw a drink at you. Did you need to go to the hospital? I'm like, no. They're like, so you need to go to the hospital. So a woman threw a drink at you. This woman assaulted me. She threw a drink at me. That's assault, right? But still, it doesn't even make, there were incidents as well when I was actually injured as well. I was actually hit and injured, and I called the police for help, and they didn't help either, even when I really was injured physically for real. And there were actually occasions where I did actually have to go to the hospital, where I was beaten up and had concussions. And there were incidents as well where the police are the ones who beat me up too. So there were incidents, many, where I was attacked. I was the victim. But so the police are a gang of thugs. The police are criminals, and they're all in on it too. Like every time you hear a person who robs a house, it's always the brother of a cop, it's the son of a cop, it's the sister of a cop, it's the mother of a cop. See, the cops, or it's even an off-duty cop. So the cops, they're all criminals, and when they're not like driving around eating donuts, then they're robbing people's houses as off-duty cops, or the brother of a cop, and that's why the brother of a cop always gets out the next day. And there was just a case I was watching this morning on the CTV news about this man who was charged with defending himself. He beat up an intruder. An intruder was a home robber was robbing this guy's home, and this guy got charged for defending his home. Okay, so see, these robbers, they're police officers, these robbers. That's why that's why Canada defends the robbers. Canada defends the criminals because the police are the criminals. The Canadian police defend the criminals. So imagine if a police officer's brother is robbing your house, you go to beat up the brother of a cop. Imagine if you beat up the brother of a cop, even if you're defending your own home. Imagine if you're defending your own home from a home intruder and the home intruder happens to be the brother of a cop and you just beat up the brother of a cop. That cop will then suddenly be like, oh, you beat up the brother of this cop and just because he was robbing your home. Yeah, he was robbing someone's home. Okay, you're supposed to defend yourself. If someone's robbing your home, you should defend yourself, right? So Canada's backwards like that. Canada, they're all criminals. The police are criminals, and so it's bothering me that there might be a video circulating of me calling a woman fat, and they're only, of course, showing the 20 seconds where they're not. Of course, they're not going to show the first part of the video where it shows that the woman was assaulting me, hitting me, yelling at me, doing something to me first. Because there were, believe it or not, there were three incidents I can remember where I was harassed in the workplace. I was harassed in a Walmart. I was harassed one time at a Walmart. I was harassed at a Subway sandwich restaurant. And it always seems to be heavy women that like I'm being stalked and followed by heavy women. They're like they're following me and you call the police. There's a gang of heavy women after me. Uh, the cops all just start laughing. The cops all start laughing. Who know? Maybe the heavy women are like the wives of cops. Those cops, they're pretty big. The cops, they're pretty fat. The cops, the American cops, Canadian cops, they're pretty fat themselves. So maybe the police officer wives are harassing me. Maybe it's a whole gang of fat cop wives that are harassing me. I don't know. Anyways, I definitely don't like cops. I don't like the police. So they're definitely a gang, and they have harassed me before, right? So. In fact, actually, speaking of total discrimination, one time I was going into a bank. I won't name the name of the bank, but I had my resume. This was years ago. This was like in my 20s. And I am super polite. Everywhere I go, I'm very polite. And sometimes when I'm overly polite, it might comes off like they think I'm gay, like for real. They think I'm homosexual because I can just overly polite and that's the way I am. I'm just a polite person. And so maybe they get like a vibe that they think I'm gay or something. So like over 10 years ago when I was in my early 20s, I had applied to banks and I went in person with my resume. And 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, this was a time when people still accepted resumes in person. Now everything's done online. Now it's very different. Like they rarely accept resumes in person. There's probably still some places that accept resumes in person, but very rarely now in this day and age that they accept a resume in person. But 13, 14 years ago, it was normal. People went around in person handing out their resumes. So one time I went to a bank and the bank manager or whoever was in charge of hiring, she came out. I had my resume. She was heavy, like she was big. Okay. And I said, "Oh, can I leave my resume?" And she wouldn't even take the resume. I'm like, uh, okay, can I just leave it and you don't have to hire me, but I just would love to leave my resume. And then, she said, "No, we're not gonna take the resume at all." I said, "Okay." I was in shock because this was the first place that wouldn't even take the resume. Like every other place that I went to would at least take the resume. It's was the polite thing to do. The polite thing to do is say, "Yeah, we're not hiring right now, but we'll take your resume." Like I heard that so many times. I heard that so many times. Like, "Yeah, we're not hiring right now, but we'll take your resume. We're not hiring. Sorry, we're not hiring right now, but we're taking your resume. Or we are hiring right now and we will take your resume. We'll love to take your resume." But this woman who was really heavy, who was like some kind of bank manager or something. She worked in the bank. She definitely was some, she had some, maybe either she was the bank manager or she was the HR manager, but she came out. I had my resume. I was really polite and she wouldn't even take my resume. Okay. I mean, maybe I should have attached a donut. Maybe I should have attached a donut to the resume. Okay. Okay. But seriously, that was so impolite of her. Like, to not even take the resume. And she was rude too. And she wasn't even nice. I could understand maybe if she gave an explanation and she said, "You know what? I know most places will or take the resume, but we have a policy where if we're not hiring, we don't take resumes. That's just our policy." If she explained it like that, I would have been like, "Oh, I totally understand. I totally understand. You have a policy. That's just what you do. You don't take resumes when you're not hiring. That's the policy." I would totally understand if she said that. but she was so cold with me and rude. And she actually made me feel like she specifically just didn't want to take my resume because she perceived me to be a homosexual. That's the vibe that I got. Okay. And I can definitely see a lot of people. Yeah. So anyways, I have to go, but thank you for everyone listening to this live stream. Thank you. Okay, bye.